Hello, hello. I did try the live stream and people just could not hear the audio very well. I guess it was like you know. And so here's what I want to put out there. Um this is this is going to be the final, I think, third short video about what I think on the Nancy Guthrie case. I'm praying that she's alive, but most likely she won't be because of her condition. But we're still going to talk about this. We do hope that the perpetrator is caught, and we'll call him the perp. So, what we were talking about on the live stream wasn't coming out, so I'm going to give you my first opinion on the whole thing. A lot of people think that it's, you know, Annie posing as the perp, but let me tell you what I think. In my opinion, the perp is a man. Men's hands are thick, they're bulky, and they're larger. The fingers are longer. Even if the guy is 5 feet tall, he's just going to have a thicker look to him. Um, his hands will be bigger, his feet are usually bigger. I've seen a lot in my lifetime, and even a short man has bigger feet and bigger hands than a woman, than the average woman. Me, myself, as a strong woman, working in the yard and all that, and being older, because when you get older, your hands will get a little thicker and a little more calloused and things like that. Depends on how you take care of them. But usually, an athletic woman like me who gets out into the yard, even chainsaws and splits wood and things like that, our hands are going to be bulky. But these hands on this perp were clearly a man's hands. Okay? He's holstering a cap gun, is what I think. When you look at the picture, look how he's holstering. Now, if it's a real gun, even a real 22 revolver is heavy and a long barrel, usually, because this was a long barrel. They do have short barrels, but this was a long barrel. So to me, it had to be a cap gun because honestly, why would the guy put it in front of his, you know what? How many guys do you know are going to carry it that way? So some people think, well, then it's a woman because only she would do it that way. No, no. I think it's very possible that he actually had it on the side, on his belt, and that it's a cap gun and it slipped forward to his front, and he probably felt it, noticed it. And I think, if I remember correctly in the video, he actually felt for it and probably figured out, shoot, this thing is now in the front of my thing. But either way, what man would leave it there in front, um, unless it's just a cap gun? If you look at the old Lone Ranger guns, like from kids playing with cap guns, um, you can still get a hold of those, and they're light. Um, they're not even half the weight of a gun, like a 22 revolver. So I really think it's a cap gun. Um, Other than that, it was an old style 22 revolver. I don't know. I also believe he broke into the back and knocked Nancy out. I think he went through the back doors and he knocked her out, put tape over her mouth. Um, and then he went to the front to cover the camera or take it off because the foliage wasn't doing it when he picked the foliage, which was weird. Then he drove the car up to the front door. He went back in, took Nancy out the front. Her nose was probably bleeding because he hit her. He was mad at her. She He probably took time for all of this. I think they said he was in the house probably 45 minutes or whatever, but all of this would have taken time as he's thinking methodically, what do I do? She's not waking up. So it's possible that was happening. But he took her out. And one man could do this. So I think that's why he ended up going up to the front camera and taking it off so that he could pull the car up and then take her out the front. He probably had her by one arm. She went down on her knees, and that's where the blood spatter is. And then he got her back up. And I do think that this was for money. Now, the only way I would think that this is a robbery gone wrong, normally, if it's gone wrong, he would just run and leave. And that would be it. But I think that she scratched him, got his DNA under her nails, and thought, now I have to take her. Okay, so that's if it's a robbery, a burglary, any of those two, that it just went wrong, and then he decided, let me take the evidence with me. But other than that, the first scenario would be it's for money, hold her for ransom, and I'm thinking that he is from Mexico. They're very savvy to crypto over there. And he's probably been in the U.S. for quite some time, but he knows he could return to Mexico. And he could be a construction worker. I mean, they get hired and picked up in the parking lots at Home Depot all the time. So it could be one of those who were being paid under the table, and the contractor doesn't want to mention that because it's illegal, right? Well, I don't know about Arizona State on that. Is it illegal? But the perp could be paid under the table, give a different name. I have met people here, and I'm not joking, here in California, I have met people here, very nice. Then I find out from this one guy that his name wasn't really what he was portraying his name. And I said, well, how are you working? He said, my friends found some guy's license, and we just doctored it. And he was trying to say it in his accent. And I said, doctored it? Well, I just thought, what the heck? I said, well, that's illegal. And he goes, I don't know about that. So I just thought, oh my gosh. But I never saw the guy again. It's just that we had a conversation one day because I was talking to him about God. And of course, if I called the police, they're just going to go look for someone who I don't know his real name. And I would describe him, and he would look like quite a few of my Latino people. So I just thought, okay, I'm just going to let them deal with this. Now, I did know where he worked, so I did say something about that. So don't think I just nonchalantly let it all go. But I'm not going to get into that. But anyhow, yeah, I mean, I guess that's what they do. Or make fake licenses. I don't know. But I asked him about that too. How do you collect your check? I said, I'm just curious. How do you even get paid? And he said that his friends handle it. They go to the house and pick up the check. So I'm just thinking, how is this working, So I know that they do pay under the table also if you work for a contractor. A lot of the guys here don't even speak English at all. They came here from Mexico and they wait out in the parking lot. They get picked up to do work. Now, the problem with that is we don't know their background, right? So how do you trace someone like that? So could that be what happened with Nancy, and the guy thought, well, you know what? I'll just have them pay me in cryptocurrency, and in Mexico, I'll go pick up the crypto from a machine that we have. Because in Mexico City, they have all of that, is what I was told. So the person could literally be rich off of, 30 something thousand, or if it's the one that's asking for 6 million or 3 million or whatever it was, they would be filthy rich over there, because their centavos and pesos are really a lot lower than our money. I can't remember what it is. Our dollar equals what? But I know one guy made 10,000 here, and after talking to him, he also told me he was heading back to Mexico. And after making 10,000, it was definitely in the hundreds of thousands of dollars over there. And I thought, really? I didn't even look it up. I just took his word for it. So my whole thought is the first scenario with Nancy Guthrie. And then, of course, a lot of people want to blame the family. I don't think it's the family. I think they're sus in a way, they're suspicious in a way, because, sometimes we just think people should react the way we would react when something happens in the family. But you can't go by that. And all these profilers, I get it. They try to read a person. If you think about it, like I lost my mom, and just a quick scenario here. I took 2 months off of work. I couldn't handle it. Had she not died and she were kidnapped, I already know, because of the way I grieved over her, how much time. I didn't even care if I was going to lose my job. So I already know that if she were taken, I would be shouting to the rooftops. I would be on the news. I would make a big stink about it all. And I would be that squeaky wheel that I would annoy people intentionally, because I would want them to look and shut me up by looking for her. Another thing too, when my mom passed away, I didn't know that she had passed away yet, but I had a little Jeep. I drove at 110 miles per hour all the way to her house. That's how I know how I react to things. And then I went into the house, and I could see that she had been worked on by the paramedics. And so I immediately went to the hospital after that, 100 and something miles per hour, as fast as I can get that Jeep to go. Because Jeeps don't go very fast. And I got there. But see, because I know how I react, I can't expect others to react that way. I don't expect that the Guthrie family is going to just do what Lisa did, But it was horrible for me. And I know if she were taken, I would be searching in the cactus. Now, another thing, a lot of people are really blaming Nanos. Well, I don't trust that guy. Me personally, I don't trust that guy, that sheriff. But to get cadaver dogs out, that cactus is brutal. And there's also a cactus that spits out needles at you. I think they call it the teddy bear cacti. But it spits out needles when you come near it. And so we're talking some dangerous terrain because of the cactus. There's no way I'd want my dogs out there, especially these dogs. Oh my gosh. Hi, babies. There's no way I'd put them in danger like that. See, they agree. Right, Jas? Right, Mataz? She goes, well, I have a thick coat. It's not going to get me. Yes, it would. Those things are like syringe needles, And not to mention all the bacteria that is flying through the air that collect on those needles. And when they penetrate your skin or your dog's skin, oh my gosh, you know, you're not just going to need a tetanus shot. You'll need antibiotics. But I've been poked by some pretty big cactus needles picking their fruit, and they're pretty sharp. And there are different types of cacti. Some are going to have sharper needles, thicker or thinner needles. Um, they're dangerous. They can go through your foot. So putting your dogs out there to search is not the best option for that kind of desert terrain unless you're walking where your dog is safe. And then let's look at some other things. If it's because of the Epstein files, like some people theorize about, Savannah interviewed someone or investigated, I don't know what it was, okay. I don't believe it's that kind of scenario, and I'll tell you why. Sorry for the reflection on this, but is because if it's about the Epstein files, this is about a lot of money. Okay, that means whoever would hire to take Nancy because of the Epstein thing to get to Savannah as a warning, or just as she's probably could have been warned prior, and they're following through with it. It would have been done very professionally. They would have come there, think about it. You have to think like a criminal, right? What would I do? I would go there in the daytime, a day that she's gone, and have my hat down low, wearing normal clothes, with a makeup mask on, with protruding ears, that if anyone was walking by, I would just look like a delivery person. I would have the white van there with a sign on it saying doo-doo delivery or doo-doo duty or something, on it. I'd grab the front camera, and then I would get a ladder, probably from her area. If she didn't have one, I would scope it out and know that I need to come again and get up on the rooftop and get those cameras. I would do it very professionally and make it seem like I was either landscape or somebody in a white van with a logo. And that way it wouldn't alarm the neighbors. I'd be out there snatching every camera, and I would have a signal reader that tells me where the cameras are, and I would grab every camera. And with some of them, you don't even have to be up on the roof. You could just have a grabber and grab the camera down, hit it down, whatever. And then I would wait and then, see if anything has been set up again. Go to the door, knock on the door, and, maybe briefly talk to Nancy, unidentifiable, and, just hold that conversation while I'm just scoping around the sites to make sure no extra cameras were put up. And then that's when the move comes. So to me, a professional would definitely have done it way different if this had to do with the Epstein files. It'd probably be more than one person, although it wouldn't have to be, but it'd probably be two people, and all the cameras are down. And then, we would check to make sure that no signals were transmitted, that the cameras were down, and then take her at night. and that would be done. But this was definitely not a professional. I can tell. I'm profiling him, and that was not a professional. A professional would not do it that way. So I was thinking the first scenario that this was for an actual ransom. And if I were to fall back on my second scenario, that it was actually a burglary robbery gone wrong, it's one of those two. So that's my opinion. And I'm pretty much done with the Nancy Guthrie case because I'm not out there to see everything and interview the sheriff and interview the neighbors. But in watching all of the YouTube channels, sorry, I've got some allergies going on. I can see that there are these scenarios going on in people's minds. One thing I would say that I would do, though, as the family, because of who I am, I can't say that everybody reacts the same when they're grieving, mourning, if they've lost somebody or even their dog. I'm going to tell you something else. I lost a dog, and for 2 months straight, I spent over, I think, $400 of gas looking for my dog every day. So that's the kind of person I am, but not everybody is like that. They just kind of give up and they just repair. And I'm not saying anything bad about the Guthrie family. I just know how I am. But one thing I would say they could have done is gone to each neighbor, knocked on the door. And if the sheriff told me don't do that, I would say, you don't tell me what to do regarding my mother. I would go to each door and say, if you have any time, if you're retired, if you're not busy, could you please spread the word that we would like to meet here tomorrow at 8 o'clock in the morning, and all go out and search and cover the area. And I'm going to ask my sister to please provide leg and arm pads so we don't get stuck by the needles if we're going into a brushy area. So we'll provide that for you, all different sizes. That's what I would do. Okay, that's what I would do. And then I would also ask to be on the news and ask Savannah to help with that. Please, everyone who is able, can afford it. We can't pay everybody, but we can supply all the leg and arm pads that are Kevlar. We'll purchase them and have them delivered overnight. That way you can have them and you can keep them afterwards, but we want you to help search for our mother. And each person walk at least 4 miles into the desert area. We'll supply waters. We could do a barbecue afterwards just so people can have food for energy, just in case they want to go back out. But that's what I would do. That's me personally, okay? And I think that's something they could have done, regardless of what the sheriff said, because to me, the sheriff does not own the people, okay? I am for the police. I am not against them, just so you know. But I also know that there are certain things that there's a certain point where you do not have to obey certain authority, and that would be one of them. That you're not going to tell me I can't search for my own mother and gather people. I have a right. All right, so that is my take on all of this. I don't believe it's Epstein, related to the Epstein files that Savannah got into, or interviewed someone or whatever, because it would have been done very professionally. And there would absolutely be no real trace for sure. And then I do think it's the first of what I said. He didn't have a real gun. He just figured, we've been watching this old lady, you know, construction worker down the street. I've had interactions with her. She's nice. Found out she lives alone. She likes to go and play bingo or whatever at this time, and goes to her church at this time and does this, and even told me when she was going to her family's house. So this is a great opportunity for me, and I'll just go and do this. I'll see if she has a safe, you know, maybe I can get her to open it up. But then something goes wrong to where she scratches him, and he decides, I'll just take her away, take the evidence away. Now, that would probably be the most likely scenario. So there you go. This wasn't a very short video, was it? But I just wanted you guys to really think about if it were the family. Yeah, you know, don't judge the family on how they behave afterwards, because I've seen people lose their loved ones and they go to work the next day. Me personally, I can't do that, but I've seen it. You just never know how people are going to act through a certain process. And I also think that they just went ahead and adhered to what the FBI told them to do. Me personally, I just wouldn't have done that. I would have said, nope, that's my mother. So no judgment, no criticizing them. I just know that we're all different. You guys take care, and God bless.